Hey Scrubs, so today we're going to do something a little bit different. The Summer Games event is here, and that means Lucioball. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. In case you didn't know, there are some dope new skins that you can get, and Lucioball is now competitive, so that means you have to care whether you are good or not. Well, I'm here to make you at least above average, if not pro status. Just saying. First of all, I highly recommend that you change your Lucio settings. For me personally, I like to put the jump on R1 and then take my boost and put it on X instead, because I hit the boost a lot less than I hit my jump button. And it is easier to hit the R1 than it is to hit the X constantly, because that way I can still maneuver where I'm going and still jump. So I can actually maneuver my jumps better than most people can because my settings are different. Another thing I would change, you can actually make Lucio go backwards. The default is that he's not allowed to wall ride backwards, but you can actually change it so that you can wall ride backwards and forwards. You have to get used to it a little bit, but it's really fun once you do it. Lucio is played a little bit differently than he is in the game, so let's just go over what he can do within Lucioball by itself. You can jump on any yellow surface of the map and it will boost you up real high. So you can only punch and use your sound wave on the ball. You can't push or punch your enemy team. So it's literally, this game is only about getting the ball into the goal. You can't do anything to the enemy team anymore. They changed it this year and it's really, really much better, honestly. If you aim slightly above the ball when it's on the ground, you can make it go up in a huge arc. And if it's coming at you from above, you can just look up and punch it and it'll punch it right back to the other side of the team. This is going to be something we're going to talk about more in the strategy. And something to definitely note, if you are a pro, you will use the walls on either side and wall ride because you go way faster. Way faster. And if you do what I say and change your settings and you can go backwards, it won't matter how you jump up onto that wall, you can just wall ride right over where you need to go. So a little bit of game strategy. Lucioball isn't that hard, but you do need to know a few things in order to be good at it. First of all, and I think it goes without saying, you need to be able to communicate with your team. So if you have a mic, use it. And if you don't have a mic, try to signal to them in any way you can. Otherwise, just do as you're told. So if you're put in the goalie section, stay as the goalie unless somebody comes back there and clearly says that they want to be the goalie. Otherwise, like, if you were in the goalie section, stay as the goalie. Do not lead. And if you are the better goalie, however you're not set into the goalie section and you are actually in the kicker section and the ball is right there next to you, don't run back to the goal yet. Go kick the ball and then you can run back to the goal. If you can, best scenario that you can do is have two friends that you play with, because that is how I got diamond status, was with playing with my friends, because we're all on a mic together and we know exactly what we're doing and whose role is what. If you can't talk to them much on mics, it's not the end of the world. Just be cognizant of where they are in the map and what you're doing and what your role is. So just like in real soccer, you're going to want to stay spaced from your teammates. You should never be grouped up together on the map. There should always be space between you, because oftentimes that ball is going to shoot across the map and nobody's going to be there to pick it up, and maybe the other team might be. So you're going to always want to be spaced. Never, ever be close to your other teammate when you're trying to kick. And you want to pass to each other, yes, but don't be close. One person should always be designated on one side or the other. So what do I mean by this? You're going to have your designated goalie, and their job is just to stay around the goal, right? But you and the other kicker, this is where having a mic is the best situation, because if you spawn on the right, then you should stay on right or mid. And if you spawn on the left, then you should stay left or mid. It's a little tricky to explain. So if the ball's on the far left, then player 1 will be on the far left, and player 2, who's the right person, will be in the mid. Does that make sense? So while someone's far left, you're mid. And then vice versa, if the ball is on the far right, then the left person will be in mid. So that way you can constantly pass to each other and no one's going all the way from one side and then all the way back to the other. Okay, that you always have two people who are designated, so you can just move like this. Something to remember about the strategy is you will be placed randomly. So sometimes you'll be placed as a goalie, sometimes you'll be placed on the right, sometimes you'll be placed on the left. Just because you were suddenly placed on the left doesn't mean you should be always designated the right person. So if you've been playing right the whole time, but you got placed on the left, start playing the left. Just again, it's best if you have mics so you can communicate this, but if you don't, usually people will get the idea. So wherever you place, just go with it. If you are the designated goalie, that's fine. Just wait until till the ball is first kicked and then go to the goalie and let the other two people be the kickers. It's pretty easy. Just whatever side that you're not put on, don't be on. Now speaking of randomly being put somewhere, the ball is also randomly placed on the map. Sometimes it's in front of the right kicker, sometimes it's in front of the left kickers, and sometimes it's right in the middle. Depending on where it is, you should always call out who's going to take it. Obviously if it's on the left or the right or the left kicker are going to go for it because they are the closest. But in the middle, you should call out on your mic if you can, or try to signal in some way that you are going for that ball. And when you are going for the ball, you should be spamming the speed boost when the countdown is going down so you have the quickest reaction in getting to that ball as quickly as possible. If you are the designated kicker, meaning it's in front of you or you called it, then you're going to want to do what I said earlier, which is try to push the ball up in an arc, because that is the easiest way to score a goal. Most goalies cannot handle an airborne ball. And bonus points if you use your ultimate to get there faster and then to kick the ball. Most of the time the goalie won't even be ready to be a goalie yet by the time you've gotten there and then push that ball up into the air. So you're even quicker to get a quick goal and the best use of your ult. Another fun way to confuse the goalie is if you can, you have a good coordination to pass the ball back and forth between players as you go up the field. Speaking of the ult, there's only two situations which you should really be using it for. If you need to stop someone from scoring, or if you need to score. So if you're the goalie, sometimes you need to get quickly back to the goal and you might have moved off to the side a little bit to like push a ball away, but then the enemy got back really quickly. These situations do happen. I've seen it happen one too many times, and then the goalie never can get back in time. You can pop your ult then and run back as quickly as possible to try and keep the other people from scoring. And as I mentioned before, the best time to use your ult offensively is in the beginning after a score has already been made, so you can quickly run up and kick that ball into the goalie before anyone's ever been ready to even stop you. The only other time you'll have to use your ult is if you're really close to the goalie, you're about to make a goal, but the enemy team is putting pressure on you, so it's really good to pop it then too if you can make the goal. Otherwise, save it for when a goal has been made and just get a quickie out of it. Now back to being a goalie. If you are the goalie, there are some other tactics that don't have anything to do with being a kicker. You are the goalie. It is the most stressful job. You need to be vigilant at all times because the ball can come at you from literally the other goalie. I've seen goalies score on goalies before. So you always have to be vigilant. That means you can't run off to help a kicker every single time the ball is kind of behind them. If it is near you or to your direct right or to your direct left and there is no pressure, go ahead and try to push that ball away from you, but otherwise be the goalie. Do not be a kicker. I mentioned that you can pop the ball up into an arc. With being a goalie, it's smart to do that. However, you don't want to do it too high. So you have to kind of learn a little bit to do a measured, like medium arc. Because if you pop it too high, then you and the other goalie are just going to continually play volleyball with each other. Neither of your kickers are going to be able to score, and that might be fun if you're like up a couple points, but if you are down, this isn't very much fun. And it's not fun for anybody else. So try to only do a medium kick. If you really can, try to aim it to one of your kickers so that they can then score a goal. The only time I would not do this advice is if you notice the other goalie isn't very good, and then by all means, do a high arc and then score as a goalie, because it is the most epic and beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. But remember, if the goalie is good, this strategy will not work at all. You need to be passing to teammates in order to score. So again, don't pop it up too high if the other goalie is good. Pass it to a teammate, let them put pressure on that goalie and hopefully make a goal. There's a few other Super Saiyan moves that you can make that I've seen, and they're the craziest things on the face of the earth, but I believe those take some practice to do. So basically you can wall ride all the way to the enemy side, and if your team is good and coordinated enough, you can have your teammate pop the ball up, but not necessarily to score at the goalie, and then you can wall ride, jump off the wall, and like pounce it into the goal. Like, I've seen some crazy stuff playing Lucioball already. I'm just giving you the basics for today because, as I've noticed, not a lot of people know how to play Lucioball correctly. Sorry. Alright scrubs, honestly, that's the end of the Lucioball walkthrough. Please tap that like button and please subscribe to SLAYTRIX. And if I missed anything in this Lucioball walkthrough, please leave a comment, let me know. I'm always open to some awesome tips and tricks, becoming a top 500 Lucioball player. And if you guys weren't aware, I play Overwatch on a live stream tonight on SLAYTRIX at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So with that said, the D out.